Alright everybody, welcome back to another Xvault gaming video. Xvault here, and today we're going to do a special edition of Thoughts from the Vault, making its return, the second ever video for this, and boy do we have something to go over. As you guessed it from the thumbnail, we're talking about Concord, and yes, that was a one and done, historically fast closing down of a games as a service live game. So, without further ado, let's go ahead, talk about it, and let's go ahead and jump to it. Right, so like I was saying, what we're going to do is go over Concord. Now, this is a special case of the quickest in history, in my opinion, that I've ever seen. Certainly correct me down in the comments below of how quick a brand new IP with a lot of funding behind it has just utterly failed. What's going on with this game essentially is the false narrative was created well before the game was even in beta. And, with that steamrolling, it's kind of like a domino effect, right? We're looking at the fact that if social media, in my opinion, and I think this, there's a lot of things that could lead up to this being pretty factual, but if this was a thing, this game was a thing before social media, I don't think it would have gotten that domino, traction that it did adhere to that narrative, right? What was that narrative? The game was too woke. It didn't do anything innovative, supposedly, to bring to the table. It was $40 and it wasn't free to play. I've had a lot of discussions recently in regards to the free to play versus paying an outright $40 fee, versus a ton of microtransactions right out the gate that was predatory. And that's a problem right there. So I don't think this game got a fair shake. It really didn't. It was super, and again, I know a lot of you out there won't agree with me, either those that did take some part of the beta and play some time with that, or you never even touched the game. Those are the ones that are just like, I didn't even give it a shot because of A, B, C. So that all adds up, right? That's that false narrative that was created, that gave that like and hive mind apparatus, so to speak, to everybody. You had people like Moist Critical and many other high profile people, XQC, with very large followings, stating that they played the game and they showed they played the game. They were laughing, having a good time playing the game, truly enjoying it, had no issues with how the game played itself, but wanted to sit there and ride that hate train, right? Well, when you have that many followers, that big of an account, and you are a content creator, those hold volumes of what that detriment can be. That's another big factor right there that did not help this game in any way, shape, or form. We can also attribute it to the character designs. I've never stood up for the character designs. Over, I would say probably half of them were not very well made. They weren't fun. Those are the outfits that were not innovative. They were kind of bland, if not just outright horribly done. Not graphically, mind you. There's a lot of detail in a lot of these suits and outfits and everything, but the problem was some of these were just downright just ugly, horrible suits that you would find as starter armor in Fallout 76 or something like that. But so that was just a lot to leave to be desired. So that was a big issue. They could have started right out of the gates with some first-party collaborations where it shouldn't have cost any money. You could do some stuff like Kratos skins. You could do simple things such as like baseball caps with Sly Cooper's logo on it for one of the characters, or whatever the case is. There's so many things you could do with the first-party aspect for this game that's under Sony's umbrella for first party. This did not require some sort of collaboration with other anime skins like Cowboy Bebop, One Punch Man, stuff like that. Yes, I'm referring to a lot of the things that Overwatch has done, or as crazy as Fortnite has been with their collaborations. That's not necessarily needed when you can do a lot of things in-house and generate that hype and have some really good, cool skins and IDs and variants. That was a big no-brainer to me right out of the gates, but I feel like maybe somewhere behind the scenes Sony didn't understand or want to follow up with this, even though it's supposed to be in an Amazon series it's supposed to be coming out, where the name eludes me, so feel free to put that in the comments. It's very game narrative based and all that with short stories, but anyways, looks really good. But that aside, Concord was supposed to play a big part in one of the episodes, so I feel like it's just this push and pull of like it was supposed to be supported. I mean, it even had its own special PlayStation 5 DualSense controller that was created for this game. There was a lot of push behind it, but I also feel like they kind of knew the writing was on the wall after a while, just because of that narrative, right? And boy, oh boy, did that harm it. But again, I don't think free-to-play would have saved this from the get-go. I have this conversation, like I mentioned and alluded to before, where maybe a free-to-play model would be better, but I think that's just a lot more, predatory. I really feel that way with any free-to-play games. Every time I buy a skin for like $20, $15 or more, I feel awful with myself being like, that's just a skin. It does nothing for the game. I just want a good, solid game with a lot of in-game content that is for free that I paid and I know the quality is there. For example, again, Fortnite, right? I have the Wolverine skin from a few seasons ago, the OG Wolverine skin. And still, with the claws coming out for your pickaxe, it has an issue. It still has a bug that it doesn't come out. You have to play with it going in and out of your claws in order for it to stay out. There's just, in this company, Epic, and then Fortnite alone is probably billions of dollars a day, maybe weekly, I don't know for sure, but give or take, let's just say a crap load of money that they make on the daily from this game alone, and they can't even pay attention to simple things like that and fix that, but they're on to the next collaboration to pump out those skins and concerts and events and music and everything else, and the new Tesla skin for your car that's $20 a pop in order for you to buy those, so they can continually make that funneling money, as opposed to a smaller team that's really putting their heart and soul into making a new IP, really pick up in the masses and do something special. There was absolutely no bugs in this game. It was super polished. The gameplay and gunplay was great. The rivalry mode that is very similar to that of like Rainbow Six Siege mixed with Overwatch still a little bit, so that was great. The ranked mode was coming soon. Nobody can sit there and downfall the gameplay itself. And again, if they use that $40 narrative, that's what I heard in most of everything. Number one was $40. Again, most new games are $60 to $70 plus. But we're going to whine and complain about a $40 game because they feel it's a free-to-play game. That wasn't going to save it. The second in there, like I said, it was woke. It was a narrative that was just too woke. Folks, yes, they had pronouns at the top right hand of the screen, but it didn't do or show anything or force anything. It didn't affect their voice lines. It didn't affect the cutscenes that were coming out. It didn't affect any of the animated scenes and stories and clips that they had on YouTube. It didn't do anything. Nothing was forced or pushed down anything. So that's what's crazy to me. And I know people are still going to push back on that, but show me one example aside from them just having it listed. Are we now going to boycott the newest Harry Potter Quidditch game because you can choose to have different pronouns from the announcer for your character? Is that the next one in line to do something? It just seems so silly to me for something that doesn't really affect much, if anything at all. But again, that narrative just stuck on it, and then there you go. So there's a lot of factors that kept this from succeeding, and it was quite the uphill battle. And I know a lot of folks like to poke fun at me with the fact that, hey, I bought a copy. We got 3 copies in my household. Yes, the wife has a copy. The son has a copy. They bought these copies on their own. They got these games their own. I didn't go out and purchase to try and save it that way. We all had fun in the beta. I met a lot of really cool people in the beta and in the actual release of the game, and we actually got to be really good gamer friends in the community and have a lot of fun. I don't remember the last time that I played a brand new IP and jumped in with that many awesome people. They were just great and fun, and we were all just having a good time and just enjoying every aspect of it, and we weren't whining about anything. There was nothing that, sometimes we'd be like, oh, this character needs nerfed, Lennox needs nerfed a little bit, because that's a little too powerful there for his pistol with all that life and self-healing and all this stuff, sure. That was about the extent of it for the most part, right? But they had the crew builder bonuses. There's other aspects. And then the other part that's also on false narrative is, you know what, guys, the team shooter genre is, oversaturated. It's not oversaturated. It's probably one of the least saturated genres at this point in time. FPSs in general, like Call of Duty, Battlefield, stuff like that, that's more overly saturated. We now have so many Souls-like games that are out there right now that are copying one another, whether it be Kena, whether it be Wukong Black Myth, whether it be Liza P, whether it be Thymesia, or whatever the case is. There's so many Souls-like games right now as well. How many platformers do we have in this day and age? Are we sitting there saying there's too many platformers? Put a stop on Mario here. Put a stop on the next Banjo-Kazooie here, because we definitely don't want that. You know how many people are still clamoring for another Banjo-Kazooie? People are clamoring for Astrobot that's been coming out. I love that series. But again, there's so many different genres. I can go on a huge list and talk about, if you want to talk about being oversaturated, so to speak. I don't care what genre there is. The good games are going to stand out from the pack. But to sit there and use that as an excuse as well, that the genre is oversaturated, and then people are like, yeah, you're right, it is. We only need just a few of those. It's oversaturated. Please. There's room for everything, especially if it's being supported. You can stop and play and go back to a game. People stop playing Rainbow Six Siege, again, as an example, can stop and play that and move on to other multiplayer games and then pick it up 6 to 7 months later. Or I do that every once in a great while, again, with Fortnite, if there's a season that is really good. For example, currently, I'm a huge Marvel fan, right? So here we go. We have another Marvel season. I'm not a huge fan of Fortnite. Can't stand it most of the time. But guess what? I'm in it because it's a Marvel season. I don't mind joining back for that and having a little bit of fun that I can pull from that. But the fact remains that, yes, whether it's a battle royale, whether it's a team shooter, whatever the case is, people take breaks on games. It doesn't have to be their entire identity unless you're, CarQ or Flats or whatever, Emong, that's mainly based for Overwatch, right? And that's their audience, and that's fine, but it doesn't have to be everybody's identity to stick with one particular multiplayer game. So, speaking of Ninja and Fortnite, right, and stuff like that, you can branch off and then come back and stuff. It's fine. So to sit there and say something's oversaturated, that's not the case. But anyways, again, this is thoughts from the vault here, and that's why I'm kind of just giving this all out there. These are all facts, folks. I know this can be an opinion piece. The opinion piece of this is that this game, is not for everybody. Not everybody likes team shooters, right? They're not. And so that's fine. If you don't like them, if this isn't your cup of tea, I'm not going to convince you that team shooters are your cup of tea. It's just not. And that's totally fine, because I'm not a big Souls-like fan, so I'm not going to go out there and advocate for Souls-like games, right? Whether it be Elden Ring or any, Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, Demon Souls, Liza P, whatever the case is, I'm not going to advocate for those, but I'm also not going to crap on them, because there's a big audience out there, or even if it was a smaller audience out there that enjoyed that genre and enjoyed those games, more power to them. Great. I'm not going to take anything away from anybody and sit there and bash on something because it's just not my cup of tea. That's fine. We all have different tastes. There's some folks that sit there and only play FIFA. There's some folks out there that only play NBA 2K or Madden or whatever the case is. Or COD, right? Big example there. And that's okay too. If you only like one genre of game, or you only like one type of game in general, or one franchise, that's fine as well. But the fact of the matter is, this game was very polished. There was no woke agenda being forced, regardless of what everybody's telling you out there. There was nothing wrong with the game aside from the character designs and possibly the timing of when this was released. I think what was tough is the last, gaming event that showed Concord with Sony, State of Play or whatever the case was. It also showed Marvel Rivals as well. Marvel Rivals is a very well-known IP, the Marvel IP, right? So having those head-to-head and showing like, hey, here's Concord, but also you're going to be checking out Marvel Rivals because that's coming to consoles as well, guys. I don't know whose decision that was. So there's two things that should have happened there. Either Concord, I think it would have been ready to be released earlier than what it was. It's super polished right now. So if there were a few bugs that needed to iron out, so be it. But that being said, it should have been released much earlier, well before the announcement of Marvel Rivals, even though it's a third-person team shooter. Or it should have been delayed until next year and really got things in order. Take a step back in the studios and the figureheads and say, look, again, what I was saying at the beginning of the video, Sony's first party IPs, let's do some of our in-house collaboration skins. Let's maybe add on a campaign to this as well, because we need something on there to help this out. We're getting this feedback about this woke narrative kind of business. Let's reevaluate some things and see what's going on, because they invested a crap ton of money into this studio and for supporting this IP. So this is a big L on that part, that they didn't do the appropriate Q&A perhaps, especially with the character designs and other aspects as well. But again, the aspects that are being told in the forefront of the store here, the wokeness, the $40, the oversaturation of the genre, those are all incorrect. Those are all incorrect. You can say what you want about the other stuff that is negative that I did bring up. That's fine. And that is something to be said. It really is. But that being said, we'll go ahead and wrap up the video here, folks. We'll see what happens here. My final thoughts on this are, I don't know if this game will come back. If it does, you can expect it to go to free to play and then be abhorrent with microtransactions. We had other games that did suffer the same fate, albeit not as quick, but they did have a second win, so to speak, and they changed things up. Rainbow Six Siege being something we can bring up as well as an example, right? Things change. So I don't know for sure if this is just going to be buried and not dealt with, or if this will be pulled off the table, revamped in some sort of way, and try once again, whatever that case may be. So let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Would love to hear from every like and comment. Of course, helps out the algorithm. If you haven't already, definitely consider subscribing. That helps out a small content creator like myself. I really do appreciate it, everybody. All your support is wonderful and amazing. Thanks for hearing me out and taking this time. And hopefully this does, shed some light on this aspect and this game as a whole, and just on the industry as a whole, and how harming social media can be into something that may not be that big of a deal. So just kind of keep that in mind. But I appreciate it once again. Have a good rest of your day, everybody, and we will see you next time on the next Xvault gaming video. And until then, take care.